Bitcoin has broken out of our anticipated bullish level that we have been discussing for months on end, and the bears are continuously being left behind. Not only that, the bulls are also being left behind. This is essentially creating a massive influx of sideliners. Just take a look at YouTube and on X and social media. Many are trying to constantly find a local top. Even the bulls, including me, from time to time have been trying to call a shorter time frame pullback, and it's quite safe to say that at this point it's useless to even discuss the micro time frames. Look, it's not about trying to find the tops or bottoms here, ladies and gentlemen. The Elliott Wave Theory is only a tool to help justify the overall trend, which is to the upside, by using the preceding waves, and that is the most important thing. We do, however, have to give them a round of applause, to the bears that is, because they are the reason why the markets even exist. They are the ones who are providing the liquidity. But now that Bitcoin has broken out into price discovery by just a smidge, sentiment still remains at an all-time low. And to me, this is exactly the same sentiment that is resembling the 2017 bull market before it actually broke out. We haven't even breached into the sentiment level of what we saw in the 2021 bull market. Take a look at this as well. This is where the big moves also begin, in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, the bulls have the edge here more ways than what we have anticipated from the past few months, because by just looking at the Bitcoin network flows, as you can see here on the bottom, we've seen it continuously oscillate with each move up in this current cycle, and then reset in the flows with each correction to literally rock bottom, and is already moving out of the mean once again, the mean average that is for total flows, as Bitcoin is now sitting near all-time highs. This is nuts. This to me just shows how emotional the markets are right now. And we've come to a very important pivotal point in Bitcoin's price action that the bears are now essentially cornered. And at this point, it's not even about pulling back to liquidate the late longs. It's about leaving the sideliners in even more despair, and even more so about liquidating the shorts slowly and painfully with each leg up. Then ultimately forcing the bears to get into astronomical levels as smart money uses that liquidity to exit their positions. This is why we can safely assume that Wave 3 is now in play. Now, Wave 3's in the Elliott Wave Theory is just reflecting a phase of strong conviction and widespread recognition of a trend where market psychology shifts from skepticism, which we are arguably in, to enthusiastic participation. The bears, even the bears right now, even with the pullback they are anticipating, they are eventually going to be forced into a long position because they know that the underlying trend is to the upside. We should see volume ramp up, see broad participation on this wave theory, and massive momentum as both investors and perpetual market traders start to believe in the trend. It basically reinforces the overall optimism and attracts both retail and even institutional buyers, creating the snowball effect about the fear of missing out. So how does the Elliott Wave Theory justify this? It goes back to exactly what we have been discussing for months on end, where we are most likely going to see the final stages of the cycle or the commodity markets like Bitcoin to observe a fifth wave extension. Now, this is a little bit more ambitious than what the bulls are even seeing, where they're seeing a possible target of around 120 to the 130,000 levels, but there is no wave that I can see a current level that ends around there using the Elliott Wave Theory. And again, these extensions for this fifth wave's extensions, that is, it doesn't happen in every cycle, but this is truly the best window of opportunity to make that kind of assumption, because many people have more or less missed out on the wave 3, which is objectively clear at this stage of the bull market. And right now, the only way to count this using the preceding waves is that we are now completed with the wave 1, 2, and these waves are still being shallow, and we're now just creating the further extension of this bull market that is making up for what happened that we missed out on this wave 3. So I think a lot of people are still positioned. They're not really fairly confident to sell their Bitcoin at this current stage. And I think it's more or less to say fair enough to say that even with all the bad news that are coming out from time to time, and even all the good news that is coming out from time, it just doesn't have any effect on Bitcoin's price action. I think people are just trying to relentlessly buy up any dips that they see as opportunity. And I think that's exactly what we have been witnessing, not only in the past few days, but the past few weeks and the past few months. So that to me is ensuing strong confidence that we're going to be moving up to the upside. Now that we have broken out of this bullish level, let's talk about the shorter time frames, because we do have to talk about it. I think even though there may be some margin of error on how it could be playing out, I think that there is a chance for it to also possibly do some kind of correction for a larger 1-2 where we just kind of sideways. But to me, I don't think it's even worth talking about this, ladies and gentlemen, where we're going to see some kind of, in fact, we just broke out of the $110,000 levels. I think that this idea is not even in play. I think we may just even see a shorter time frame 1-2 possibly play out, and we may just look at what could be a possible 1-2 of this being the only opportunity left for a wave 1-2. In fact, in my opinion, it's so important to even talk about how this has played out. I think, in my opinion, we saw a wave 1 extension 2, 3, 4, 5 play out. That's pretty much the only way to create this wave 1, and it goes back to actually a fractal that I have seen back in the 2021 bear market, or the 2023 bear market, that actually sparked this whole thing. Because if you look at the underlying trend of the beginning move here, this here was the actual extension to the upside for a wave 1, the beginning move of a wave 1. And then we saw this wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 complete. And then we saw a larger wave 1-2 play out, where that is pretty much the only fractal that is relatable to the current shorter time frame analysis, which is why we can't safely assume that a shorter time frame pullback can happen. But in my opinion, I don't think that this is even going to be playing out. However, we do have to take some logic into sense on the shorter time frames because we want to be maximizing our positions as best as we can. So that goes into me talking about the even more bullish scenario, which is just continuously extending out of these levels, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, in my opinion, we could be just creating what could be a series of 1-2s. Now, I know a lot of bulls even hate this idea, but it's really a possibility at this stage of the bull market because we're looking for not only the macro fifth wave extension, but we're also assuming a wave 3 of that fifth wave extension, and let alone we've seen the shallowest of 1-2 pullbacks with each move up, basically creating a parabolic effect. So I think we can even safely assume that these are just creating a series of 1-2s, meaning that this is a wave 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, and we may be working in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of this minor degree, of this white degree here. And we can even see alternations happening. We can see a sharp, sharp, sharp correction where each move of these 1-2s were sideways. So this is, to me, a very strong possibility, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's even very possible for us to assume that we're just going to go straight up. Again, the slope and the height of this overall internal wave count is to be determined, but the overall idea is still just remaining to the upside, and price discovery is just going to be continuously creating new all-time highs at this stage. So this is why, in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, with all of the evidence that I just mentioned, there is no reason why we should be a bear. The underlying trend is to the upside. So I'm not sure why we're still calling for such low levels around $50,000. Those levels will come because if we look at the overall bull market cycle theory, this is all coming into play, in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen. If we look at it, I think we have a chart here, this chart right here, the cycle theory perspective. I've been talking about this in my previous videos, that the only way to compensate for this slope that we had from the previous bear markets based on fractals is via this fifth wave extension. And then once we hit that 250 to that $300,000 target, that's when we will see the massive pullback. And at that stage, when I become a bear, a lot of the bulls who have converted are going to hate me just as much as they're hating me right now from the bears. So this is the herd psychology perfectly in play right now, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is exactly the reason why we are remaining a bull, because there are just so many skeptics, and that's the reason why these bull markets and bear markets exist, because of the other side trying to figure out some contrarian perspective on how the markets are going to pull back at some stage, like right now. In my opinion, I don't think that's going to even happen, even at the $120,000, $130,000 levels. I think those will just be a smaller degree pullback more than anything else. But with that being said, I will go over a shorter time frame analysis once we do get an actual pullback or start to see signs or red flags on a pullback. But for now, the underlying trend remains to the upside. I think that we are working for an extended minor fifth wave right now because we are ahead of schedule for this wave 3. So just because we're also shifting the timing of this halving cycle, this also goes to tell us that there not maybe any more opportunities going forward. It's going to get a lot more trickier, and I think there will be shorter bull markets and shorter bear markets, or bull markets and shorter bear markets, and they're going to be a lot more trickier to trade. But we do have that opportunity right now to take the past lessons of these past fractals to kind of really apply it to the current cycle, as this may be the last opportunity to really apply the final fractal that we may have one more pending move to the upside. So that's how I'm currently seeing the markets, ladies and gentlemen. I think everything is just kind of programmed at this point. I think we are going to see further levels to the upside. Stop focusing on YouTubers or analysts trying to figure out a shorter time frame pullback. They will happen, and I will be making sure to trade them and also share them if there is a high probability setup. So with that being said, please make sure to show your support, whether you're here or seeing this on X or on YouTube, by giving a thumbs up, subscribing, following me, whatever it is. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Hopefully this in-depth analysis gave you a little bit more insight into why this current bull cycle is not completed. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic rest of the week. Bye-bye.